This is the Round 2 podcast with Galen Parker and Nicole, where we talk to big thinkers, big dreamers, and big idea havers. Quitting and failing are not the same thing, and we're going to show you why. We are back like we never left. This is the Round 2 podcast. My name is Galen Parker. This show's starring Stephanie and Nicole. Stephanie, say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody.
It is so nice to be back here. I'm excited. If you guys couldn't tell, you probably couldn't tell because you're probably thinking Galen gives off this energy all the time. But one thing that is really nice, we've got Chris Crump with us, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure, let's give him a round of applause. But before we go any farther, if you have not done so, do yourself a favor. Hit that like and subscribe button down here below. You can see the fingers pointing down here. We want you to stay up to date so that you guys can get gems, get tips, get anything that you might think it might be necessary for you to take your business to the next level, or just get your business from an idea onto paper to a plan, into a plan onto a promise. So let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Crump, if you don't know, if you haven't been following, if you did not watch Stephanie's recording the other night of Wealth Wednesdays, you probably should go back and watch it because gem after gem. It was like I was going through Jared's Galleria of Jewelers. There were so many gems falling from the sky, picking up diamonds and kernels of gold. He was talking about discipline. We're going to get into a little bit about that, and we're even going to do a little bit of an intro and have Chris tell us who he is. Before we even do that, are you scamming? Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, we're bringing it back to Are You Scamming? So the three of us were discussing this a little bit earlier. When it comes to business, you have to be pretty aware of scams that come. You also have to probably represent yourself so that you are not scamming. I know Chris can talk about some business practices with wholesaling because sometimes they take a bad reputation. So I put it out on Instagram. Chris reposted it. Stephanie reposted it. What are some things that maybe are not a scam, but they feel like a scam? And we got some crazy responses. I sent some to Chris. I talked to Stephanie about them. You guys sent us, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 9 things that you guys feel that they are real things, but they feel like scams. And then we're going to get a little feedback. I want to see what Chris and Stephanie think about. The first one that someone said, this feels like a scam, but it is a real thing. They said healthcare, not including vision and dental.
Feels like a scam.
Yeah, I strongly agree.
It's such a weird thing. It's like, all right, so I need healthcare. Obviously, you've tried of healthcare, but they're like, but it doesn't include your eyes and your mouth, two major functions of your health every day. They're like, yeah, that's a separate thing. That's a separate entity. Yep. Do you guys have health insurance? Let's just okay. Completely. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. Not everyone is.
I agree. I think most of the healthcare is not straightforward, I'll say.
One of my biggest problems with just healthcare in general is when I did not have, by choice, I didn't have health insurance, and I was going to the doctor and just being like, I'm a cash buyer, and they're like, oh, well, here's a price that's 40% cheaper than what we were going to bill you if you had insurance. And I was just like, wait, so it's cheaper if I just tell you I'm paying out of pocket cash? They're like, oh yes, definitely. And I'm like, why doesn't everyone do that? Like, and they're like, oh, well, we need to bill these insurance companies these exorbitant amounts for stuff that we didn't really actually do. I'm like, okay. The second one was charging subscription fees to access software on hardware that you already own.
There might be new features that are added every month. So,
Stephanie, what are you saying? It depends.
Do you believe in?
It just depends. I feel like it's a scam to have to pay for like Microsoft Works product.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking, like, who still use Microsoft anyways? Like, if you're not using Google Sheets and Google Docs and Google everything in this stage of the game,
I agree.
You didn't switch?
No, I did switch, but I didn't want.
You hate change. All right, the third one, premium gas. They said premium gas is a scam. They said, why is it that one car needs premium gas? Well, it doesn't. My car takes premium gas. Probably, Stephanie, I know your car takes premium gas. It's not a scam, but I understand why people say that. But ultimately, we're just kind of taking the manufacturer's word for it. So might be someone this is kind of related to healthcare. Someone just said insurance in general. They said, I keep giving people money month after month, year after year. And then when I actually need to use it, they try to give me as little as possible. I was like, that feels like a scam. Health supplements, like all the little like supplements that you could take. There's like the FDA keeps on saying, hey, we haven't really tested any of this stuff. So you're just taking it. And I'm a big sucker for it. I'm taking turmeric root. I'm taking all the ocean sea oil, cod oil. I don't know if any of it works.
I'm gonna say not a
Oh,
scam. That's a choice that you're making to take
okay.
those.
I mean, I take it. You see the skin, you see this complexion. You stop playing. The one that made that I like a lot, that Stephanie really has opinion about it. Someone said credit scores are a scam.
Ooh,
They
yeah.
said, Stephanie, I want you give me your comment first, and then I'm gonna read you what they said.
You go ahead with what
So
they
they
said.
said, all right, so if I pay something off, it's bad. But if I pay something down, it's good. But don't pay it off too much because it's bad. Because having some debt is good, but also having debt is bad. And that's how they just wrote it.
Now, I do agree with that perspective of it, but I say that credit scores are not a scam, and the people who say that they are the people who don't have the score to get anything. But why?
What says you, Chris?
I mean, I agree with most of the sentiment from the viewer. Yeah, for me and my wife, we're just about debt free, and I feel like I should have an 800 credit score if I'm debt free. I pay everything off, but ours isn't 800, and I wouldn't even say it's very good, and I would call that a scam. If I pay everything off on time, don't owe anybody a dollar, I feel like I should be the best candidate to pay for the next thing.
It's a trap. I feel like it's a
Mm-hmm.
trap. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I mean, how? I'm right there with you. I'm like, wait, I did all the things you told me to do, and they're like, yeah, so now we're gonna punish you. I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah, they want to keep you on that hamster
That's
wheel.
right.
Let's pay some debt.
And then to Stephanie's comment, because I do agree, some of the people who are the loudest saying that credit scores are a scam, I'm looking at you guys.
Couldn't even borrow money from your mama.
They're riding passenger seat somewhere talking about credit scores. Credit scores are a scam. I'm like, don't you rent and borrow your girlfriend's car? I'm like, all right, cool. It's like, just double checking. This was an interesting one because I don't know a lot about this. Donating blood to the American Red Cross. They said that was a scam.
That sounds like
Okay, so I can see their perspective because they use that same blood that they just gave you like $100 for at most, or that you gave for free, to charge patients hundreds of thousands of dollars for procedures that they need that blood for. If they didn't have it, they wouldn't be able to charge.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of what they said. They said you donate the blood for free and then they sell it to people. And I was like,
Right.
I mean, I granted there's probably a cost to like cleaning the blood and storing the blood, but yeah, that does feel kind of, because there's other entities that will take the blood for free and then give it out to the free and needy. So American Red Cross, what you doing? And then the last but not least one, because this was my favorite one, because I believe this to the core of my being. This goes into a Galen soul, recycling. They say recycling is 100% a scam, and here's why I say that. When I was a million bazillion years ago, I was a college student. I had to write a long paper for one of my economics classes about recycling. It is actually worse for the environment, like the big giant diesel trucks driving through your neighborhood, picking up, just dumping all the smog in the environment, then picking up your can. And also, when you go to the recycling plant, there's not a lady there like sifting through your goods. They're just dumping it in the big same trash thing as before, and they're like, we recycle. So if you really want to recycle, just do it yourself. Like, reuse your plastic bag for like a garbage bag or something like that. A lot of these things are connected to the government if you don't know. So maybe the government's scamming. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Are You Scamming? We got Chris Crump in the building right now, and I'm extremely excited because Dispo is something that Chris talks a lot about on his Instagram. He does some things that I absolutely love when he talks about collaboration. But ladies and gentlemen, Chris Crump. Chris, where are you from?
I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Okay, all right. How lifer?
Lifelong, still here in North Dallas. We got plans that might not keep us in Dallas. Well, not really plans, but hopes. So, yeah, we born and raised, me and my wife here in Dallas, and we'll see where the rest of life takes us.
Ideally, where would you like to be?
I can't.
All right,
we're keep
it on the low. He's not ready to reveal his plans. He'll be in Puerto Rico one day, trying to live tax free 6 months of the year.
That's on the list.
That.
That's on the list.
Yeah, one of my mentors lives out there. He's in Puerto Rico for 5 months of the year. Very cool.
Yeah, they good tax.
Stephanie, you been to Dallas before?
I have.
Love Dallas. Aren't you about to be in Dallas?
I am about to do an event on June.
You have an event.
Hopefully, Chris, you can stop by and
I did see that.
show your face.
Yes, I would love to be there. Yes, Stephanie and
Bring the beard
Dallas.
out in
And
public.
it's like it's July or June, right?
June 22nd.
Yeah, see, I saw that. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I got it
going
down.
on.
How far is
Would love to be there.
Dallas from Grapevine?
It's like 15, 20 minutes. Dallas is a huge metro, so it just depends on where you're at. But for me, 15, 20 minutes.
2 years in a row, I went to the Grapevine for an event and loved. I mean, I was just loving. Then we went to downtown Dallas. I was just loving it. Everything. It was a great vibes, great energy. Thank you. Shout out to Dallas.
Cool.
Good times. All right, so Chris, explain to the people. This is a conversation I guess you and Stephanie could probably speak more about. For me, what is Dispo?
So Dispo is once you have a property under contract, you now have the rights to assign that property. So all we're doing is flipping paper, right? We're not actually the owner of that property. We shouldn't market ourselves as the owner of that property, but we have equitable interest in that property. So we get a property under contract with the seller at $100,000, and that's fair. It should be fair market value for how that property sits. And then say once that property's all fixed up, it's worth 200. So then we have to find out what a buyer will pay for it as it sits. And it's my job in Dispo to go out and get on the biggest mountain that I can, scream as loud as I can. Hey, I've got a 1990 brick 3-bed, 2-bath house. Do you guys want to come and look at it? Here are the photos. But it's our job in Dispo to market that property and then find the end buyer. The end buyers for us in wholesaling are usually fix and flippers or investors. Sometimes they're homestead buyers, but for the most part, it's an investment property. Where someone sees a value add or they see there's equity in there where they can make money, and Dispo is selling it to that buyer.
Okay. All right. So is it fair to say, like, if I said Dispo and wholesaling is kind of the same thing, is that fair?
We're a category in wholesaling. So wholesaling, you can look at it as a conveyor belt. It's lead generation, trying to find a homeowner who will raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested in selling. And then it's acquisition. Once you have an interested seller, it's now acquisition where they they negotiate, put the property under contract, and then it goes to Dispo. So really you should look at it in three different categories: lead generation, lead acquisition, and then disposition.
Can you tell us a little bit about your process when it comes to Dispo?
Yeah, so it depends on a variety of things, but my process is once I'm all I do is Dispo. I don't do any lead generation, any acquisition. So I'm all JV, where other wholesalers who have done the hard work to get the property under contract, they then trust me and my company to go out and sell the property and do that effectively. So my process when a wholesaler brings me a deal is, one, I definitely want to understand that you're under contract. I need to see that contract. I want to know your price that you have it under. I want to know what you think the ARV is, because some wholesalers, they see someone that can do Dispo and they're just like, dude, take everything. But I still want you to do your homework and for you to feel confident in the deal, not me do your work. So I want to know their comps. And then for me, I'm all fact driven on Dispo. I don't try to paint a pretty picture or paint what it's not. I tell you exactly what we have. So I need to know how old the roof is, how old the HVAC is, how's the foundation, what's the status with the tenants, is it occupied, is the seller still there, is it vacant, and then just a variety of questions. But I want to get everything taken care of on the first end, so when I'm presenting it to the buyers, I have all the facts. I don't want to go back and forth or for me to be vague in my marketing, because if I'm vague in my marketing or if I don't show all the details that I can, a buyer gets 100 different emails in their inbox every day. And if they can answer all their questions by looking at my marketing rather than getting on the phone with me and asking the questions and then I got to go back and answer them, that kills so much time. So if there's a deal in their inbox that has all the information, they're going to pass over my deal and go look at the wholesaler who's presented all their deals. They can now run their numbers just looking at the pictures and the facts in the email rather than having to give me a call, ask a question, get the answer, and then go back and run their numbers. So in terms of my process, I try to get all the details I can from my wholesale partners. They need to have all the facts. If not, they need to go back and talk to the seller. And then once I get all of that, we'll put it into a flyer, a property listing. We'll send it out to all of we have 3 different categories of buyers. We have VIP buyers who, we've had a good communication with. They've given us offers. Maybe they weren't great offers for that property, but we liked how they worked. We have repeat buyers who have bought from us before. They get to look at that properties first, and then it goes to our VIP buyers, and then it just goes out to anybody who has shown interest. So as soon as we get a deal, if it's in San Antonio, I look through my phone book, San Antonio repeat buyer. All of those folks get the property first, After 24 hours, if they haven't jumped on it, then it goes to our VIPs. After another 24 hours, then it's out to the public, and then anybody gets a chance to put an offer in.
So 2 questions. One, what's the name of your company?
We're Easy Texas Properties, but our DBA is Easy Dispo, because once we went national, we didn't want necessarily a Texas property company, so we're Easy Dispo.
Okay, very cool. I just want to make sure people, if you guys don't know, if you guys heard that, maybe keep an eye out for that. Try to figure out a way to get your money together, and maybe you can get on one of those lists.
Yeah.
My thought was kind of with this, based on what you're saying, it sounds like your reputation is very important, right? I mean, because it's like you don't want to be giving out just like junk information. What did it take to kind of work out that process to say like, all right, this is what I want, and this is how I'm going to communicate it to other people?
Yeah, well, you hit it right on the head that especially in Dispo, because instead of being in acquisitions where you're business to customer, in Dispo we're business to business, right? I look at my wholesale partners as a business, my buyers as a business. So reputation and being professional is everything. And then remind me your question again, just so I can make sure I'm hitting on it.
So we're just kind of thinking like, why is your reputation so important, especially when you're just trying to identify, especially for that end user as they're looking for something to buy. If I look at Chris's email versus like Stephanie's email, Chris has got all this information that should build a level of trust and comfort, so that now I'm like, all right, I can trust Chris. And I'm trying to think like, what went into creating that picture for people.
Yeah, so on the buyer's end, our reputation is super important, because we want brand awareness, right? We want them to see, okay, hey, this is an email from Easy Dispo. The guy knows his numbers. He's not overinflating his numbers. He doesn't lie about the situation of the property. He's usually spot on. So when they see my email, they know it's not necessarily a waste of time, because other wholesalers, not everybody, but some of them either find the most expensive property on the block, don't even care that it's 1980 and you got a 1950. That's their after repair value. So we want our buyers to get excited when they see our email, because they know we're coming straight, we're coming with facts, and we're coming with comps, and we're pretty strong on our number. Buyers still might disagree, but at least we can tell them, hey, this is how we arrived to our number. On the other end, with wholesalers, it's super important, because one, I've been in their spot. I know how important it is to, one, get your first deal, or two, you've waited 3 or 4 months and now this is your next deal and you really need it to cash out. So it's super important for me and anybody on my team to understand that one of our core philosophies is that we care about every deal. We understand that there's a seller's life involved. We understand our wholesalers are really betting on this to sell and get paid. And then we understand our buyers need a good deal too. So for us, it's super important when I give my wholesale partners a number, hey, I think we can sell it at this. I'm transparent. I tell them how confident I am in it. Sometimes it's a gamble, but I'm willing to take that gamble so long as they're up for it. But two, if I give them a number, they should expect that, it's not an automatic, it's not a guarantee, but they should expect that, Chris has enough history and knows enough about his buyers and knows enough about this market that he can probably hit that. Because if not, and for me, I ask for exclusive marketing. So I'm taking up their time, right? If I ask for 2 weeks of exclusive marketing, that means they can't go out and try to sell it themselves or work with anybody else. They're putting all their trust in me. So super important, because if I go, and unfortunately it's happened, if I go 0 for 2 or 0 for 3 with one wholesale partner, they're going to be like, man, this guy's just not getting it done for me. I need to go out and find somebody else. And it has happened. And sometimes we get in small markets or we're just too high on our numbers. But as long as I'm forthcoming, I'm transparent, I'm honest, I give them, the information that I have, that's as good as I can do for my reputation. I'm just being honest. I'm being transparent. I'm talking to them throughout the whole deal. But if I go, if I miss on 5 different people's deals, real estate is a small world. They're going to start talking, hey, Chris can't actually Chris don't know what he's talking about. Exactly right. So for us, we definitely want to care about the deal. And then after that, we just want to be honest and transparent. If we hit on our mark, we own up to it. We fall on the sword. That's what we sign up for as entrepreneurs. Is there's nobody else to blame but ourselves. But yeah, points right back at us. Reputation.
I hope everyone who's listening wrote that part down, because that's this show is about entrepreneurship. So it's like your reputation. Sometimes you got to take a loss. to hold everything together. I've done it. I know Stephanie's done it. It's like, Chris, it sounds
Yeah.
like you've done it too.
We had to fall on the sword today. I have a property in Cleveland, and I'm training a dispo manager, so it was his conversation. But I was on a Zoom call with him when he had it. But we sent a buyer to a property in Cleveland today to meet the seller, and the buyer made the offer to the seller at the appointment.
Ooh.
And we told him, and I heard it. We told him on the phone, and we tell our buyers for the most part, you're free to ask the seller any questions about the condition or the property itself, but in terms of price, you bring that back to us. And I don't know why he did it, and he's actually denying that he did it, but he made an offer to the seller, and then my JV partner brings it up to me. Hey, the seller said he made an offer to her, and it screws things up for him. Although we did communicate that to the buyer, that's our buyer. They trusted us with dispo. We had to fall on the sword. That's our fault. We should have communicated that in a better way, in a more clear way. This is what we did, but now we know to be more clear with this guy. But yeah, happens all the time in our world. We gotta own up to it and move on.
Yeah, so what are some important things in the world of dispo that you would want to put out to the audience or somebody who was looking to, kind of get into dispo?
Yeah, I would say first, make sure you understand your numbers. You understand how to underwrite, you understand how to look at a deal. If not, you have somebody in your corner that can. If you are doing it outside of your local market, make sure you have boots on the ground that can help you, whether that's a realtor that can run comps, somebody that can go put a lockbox or take photos for you. But don't jump in and say, hey, I'm dispoing in Cleveland or Florida, wherever, and then someone gives you a deal and you've got no resource and no connections and you can't run comps. The second thing that I would say is, and it's just real estate and wholesaling in general, but look at everything as being relationship driven and value driven. A lot of new wholesalers jump in and they get so excited about that first assignment and the idea of making $10,000 that they then forget about the seller's motivation and that they had cancer and this is why they need to sell, or that our buyers need to make a profit or whatever, or that the title company, I see so many wholesalers that are rushing the title company or getting a little hostile with the title company, and they have no idea the process of what
Let
goes
them do their
into,
due diligence. You want to make sure that title's clean.
Exactly right. And so if you start pestering or even getting a little rude to the title company, they're going to remember exactly who you are next time. And they have the right to say, maybe our capacity is full. We can't take on a new deal. So I urge everybody, this is a relationship business. If you're not understanding that you're in it for the long run, if you play your cards right, you had the ability to do a dozen different deals with this person, then you're going to hold yourself back looking at everything as a transaction and an assignment fee rather than, hey, I get to help this seller out. That's probably going to lead to a referral. I'm going to get to make this buyer a lot of money. That's going to lead him to buying another property from me. I get to be close friends with this title company. I now know, for me, I know Jennifer down at Chicago Title wants a boba sweet watermelon iced tea. So I'm bringing that to her anytime I'm there local to her. She runs the file so quickly. She answers my call first ring. And if you don't treat your title companies as your best friend, you're missing out on so much value, because if you get in good with your title company, they treat you really well.
My title company loves me. Shout out to ACS down there. I mean, I pop up because their office is like relatively close to mine. I pop up over there all the time, just dropping off like, hey, I happen to find these donuts. Anybody like donuts around here? I know what her daughter likes to do. I know her hobbies. I'm like, oh, it's crazy. I just found this coupon on riding boots for your, it's like, that's cool. One thing I wanted to ask you, because obviously, dispo is your business, but obviously you did something before this. What did you do before real estate?
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2015. After that, I jumped into I studied sports management in college. After that, I jumped into doing corporate sales for the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh.
It was actually their G League team, the Texas Legends, which is about 45 minutes up the road. But I did that for 5 seasons. Any sponsorships or court branding or suite level branding, that's what I was selling there. So I did that for 5 seasons. During that time, I got the bug, the entrepreneurial bug, really just real estate bug, and it started from the Mark Whitten Breakfast Club interview. I then read Rich Dad Poor Dad like everybody else, and that started the bug. And so once for about a year, I was just, doing YouTube University. And once I decided that's the next step I wanted to make, I quit my job and I jumped into roofing because I thought roofing would get me more into real estate. I was completely wrong. It was just
I was like,
sales.
okay.
I figured I'd learn construction. I'd learn the cost of labor, all this good stuff. But I did door-to-door sales for 6 months. I actually took a ton away from it, although it was super hot in the Texas summer,
that's right.
and it wasn't selling roofs isn't the easiest thing, but I learned a lot about, door-to-door sales. I don't think sales can get any harder than door-to-door. And so I got a lot of growth out of that. And then after 6 months, I didn't make $1 selling roofs, and I was already 100% commission. And I said, if I'm already wasting 6 months of my time being 100% commission, I might as well go do something I'm really interested in and take the bet on myself rather than, getting a 12% commission from whatever I sell. So after 6 months, I convinced my pregnant fiance, let's take this jump. It'll be no time before we start cashing checks and taking vacations. And it was a lot of time in between then. But yeah, I quit roofing and I jumped into wholesale in 2019.
So let's back up to that point, because you said something that really, Pete, you said, I took the bet on myself. And I like to ask people, what was that defining moment? Because all of us have had it. I was, like you, went to college, had a corporate job, Fortune 200 company. I'm doing sales. I'm flying in airplanes. But all of us have that, like that Malcolm Gladwell, that watershed moment, that tipping point where you're just like, I got to do something else, or I believe I can do something else. What was your moment?
Yeah, so I remember it super clear. It was when I was still at my job with the Mavericks, and I was at an LA
Hanging out with
Fitness
Dirk.
in the locker room. Yeah, shout out to Dirk. Shout out to Luka, who's about to take down the Thunder. I was in the locker room, and two older guys were getting dressed and getting ready to go back to work. They were probably, I'm guessing, in their 40s, and they were having a conversation out loud, and it was like, hey, did you hear Jim retired? And the guys were like, yeah, finally, I hope he can stay healthy long enough to enjoy it. And then the other guy was like, yeah, I've still got 25 years left. And they were like in their 40s. And so for me, it was already in the back of my mind. But when I hear a conversation happen in real life where they're like, still got 25 years and they didn't sound excited about having 25 years left, and they're hoping their buddy who just retired can live a couple years and enjoy that. I had already read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was already in the back of my head. And then after that, I was like, although I like sales and I like, working on this team, there's no way that I can, try to do this for 30 years and then hope that I'm still healthy enough to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it all the way through. And then when you make the jump, although you take on a lot larger load, you still have the freedom to, kind of explore your life in a way that you can't, when you have a W-2 and you have a boss to check in with.
I love that. Enjoy it all the way through.
Yeah.
Stephanie, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's some last minute advice for somebody who was just thinking about, starting a business or, chasing a dream that they have?
Yeah, great question.
Give them some gems, Chris.
First, I would, if they have somebody who's influenced them or someone in their circle who, is in that realm, I would have a very frank conversation with them. What have been some things that have gone bad? What have been some things that you've overcome? What are some things that I'm not thinking of that I'm going to have to go through? Because you truly don't understand it, when you're going to make that leap. You don't know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you don't understand the hard pitch that you're going to fall through. You don't understand that, right now I'm getting a check every 2 weeks. And now I'm signing myself up potentially to not get a check at all this year. Depending on how this goes, it can be very rough. The second thing is if you have a significant other or someone who, is relying on you or a partner, you need to get them all the way bought in as well. And they don't need to understand, everything, but you need to say, honey, I'm planning on making this leap. I need you bought all the way in. I can't have any, negative comments. I can't have you pulling me down. I can't have you pulling me away from work when I need it. And if they don't think they can do that, you guys need to figure out, what's your best way forward. But you need to make sure if you're doing it with a family or a partner, I promise you, they're going to feel the good and the bad just along with you. So you need to make sure that they understand it. They understand the consequences and the things that you're going to have to go through. and that they're all the way bought in. Because if not, it's going to be near impossible for you to do this without a supportive partner. I had my wife was supportive all the way through, even before, and she's definitely supportive now that we're reaping the benefits. But you need to make sure that you understand what you're signing up for as much as you can, and then you get people in your corner that can support you while you're going through it, and then your partner is on board with you. I think support and community is the first thing that you need to have. Because if not, who are you going to ask the questions to? When you get a problem, who's going to help you get through it? YouTube and Google are great, but real life scenarios and people in your backyard that don't have done it and know people, it's going to take you so much further. It's the simple saying in the book, "Who, not how." You don't need to know how to do everything, but you need to know people who can help you do it. Yeah.
No, I love that, and that's some great just real world advice all the time. If your spouse or your significant other or your partner, they don't have to know all the details of the business, but it's nice for them just to know enough so that if something goes bad, they don't say like, "Oh, well, why don't you just move on to something else?" They can see the value of it down the road when it does go right, so that they can kind of support you and be like, "Oh, I know you didn't get this one, Chris, but you've got some other irons in the fire, so keep going on. This is what's going to pay off." That's huge.
Exactly right. Now, I'll add one other thing. It's okay to pivot, but you need to give yourself a long enough time where it's going to work or not. Some people, and especially in real estate, the good and the bad thing is there's a thousand different ways to make money, right? And so I see people, I'm going to do multifamily. In 2 weeks, they're doing mobile homes. In 2 other weeks, they're doing buying RV parks. Give it a 90-day runway. Give it all you got. And then if after 90 days, you decide that maybe it's not the best fit, totally fine to pivot. But if you find yourself in a hamster wheel of pivoting every 2-3 weeks, you're never going to find the success because you never stuck to it. You got to go through 1,000 no's before you get to that yes. So give it 90 days before you decide you want to pivot and go in a different direction. And then also make sure you're completely bought in on your idea before you
Make sure you believe in yourself.
Yeah. You don't have a foundation, it's always going to crumble. So, yeah, I had to throw that in as well.
No, man, I appreciate. Thank you so much, Chris. I mean, this has been great. This is the kind of, for you guys who are listening at home, these are kind of the things that we want to impress on you. Find a community. Find a nurture bank that can kind of give you real-time feedback of good, bad, ugly, you're doing great, you're doing bad. Someone who's bold enough to kind of help you out. These are the gems that we want to impress on all of you guys, whether you're trying to start a sneaker business, a wholesaling business, dispo business, if you're doing reverse wholesaling, if you're trying to just have a jewelry that you're going to put on eBay, whatever it is. You are not a failure until you quit on yourself, and so we are here to help you to see the benefits of sticking to it. Some of our guests, they're going to be millionaires. Some of our guests are going to be thousandaires. Either way, as long as they still keep going, we all believe in them. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big shout out and a big thanks to Mr. Chris Crump. Round of applause. We really appreciate you and you taking your time, kind of imparting some of your knowledge, and continue to build your collaboration. One of the things that I was really impressed with, I wrote down, was starting the deal breakdown on Instagram Live. If you guys don't know what that is, follow Chris, and they talk about just deals that are coming, breaking down the deal, because that's the stuff that I think a lot of people need to hear. But that is our time. This is the Round 2 podcast. We thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, if you'd like to be a guest, feel free to reach out to us, reach out to Stephanie and Nicole. Stephanie, if they need to reach you on social media, where do they find you at?
It is Stephanie Nicole RVA on everything.
Chris, can they reach you on social media?
It's Crump, CRUMP, Moves Homes on everything. Crump Moves Homes. And real quick, Galen, I want to throw in one more scam, and it's because I see it all the time on the dispo side. It's solar panels. Do not get solar on your house. It does not increase your value. It makes my job so much harder. Do not get solar, please.
That's going to be the clip. That's going to be one of the clips for the because I just had this conversation with someone. They're like, should I get solar panels on my house? And I was like, no.
No, you make my job so much harder to sell your house when you do.
Oh, man. Chris, I want you to do an Instagram Live. I want to come on that. We're going to talk about solar panels because it's like, it's so hard. People want to do it so bad. But all right, guys, this is the Round 2 podcast. Thank you for listening, and we are out.